Democracy, anti-party activities, and the future of the ruling All Progressives Congress, with the vice chairman of the party in the Northwest, Dr. Salihu Lukman, as our special guest. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Dari Odufowokon. Journalist Hangout starts now. Well, let's begin with the concluded 2023 elections. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has presented certificates of return to National Assembly members-elect of the 15th April supplementary elections. Some of the lawmakers-elect commended INEC for a job well done and described their success as victory for democracy. Now, the majority leader of the House of Reps, Al-Hassan Doguwa, who is the member-elect for Doguwa Tudunwada Federal Constituency in Kano State, described his victory as exceptional. Vajide, let's begin with you first off on this matter. We know we've seen a lot of drama played out, during the elections, but what's your assessment first off, and seeing that the certificates of return has been given to winners in the last elections?
Well, I think that INEC should be commended. We can't always sit here and criticize them. It's not an easy job to mobilize for election and conduct elections successfully. Our people by nature are difficult, so as you are making your plans to deliver seamless elections, they are making their plans to compromise the process. So if you can deliver free, fair, and credible elections in the final analysis, then you deserve to be praised. And that's why you see, talking about these supplementary elections, they've gone very well in virtually everywhere. It would seem that supplementary elections are mere formalities because most times the lead that the front runner has will seem unassailable. And for that reason, most of the time the voters do not show interest. In these supplementary elections, the turnout was extremely low. People believe that the winner had already emerged, that it's just a coronation that the winners are waiting for. And that's what we saw. No upset in the real sense of the word, no upset. For example, in Zamfara, where catch up with him, and that's what happened. In Adama, where Aisha Dahiru, alias Binane, was trailing Governor Fintri with more than 30,000 votes. I knew that she would not be able to catch up with the governor. That's what happened, because you are limited by the fact that a good number of the voters are not going to show up. And you need them to turn up in tremendous numbers for you to even stand a chance of catching the front runner. But where only a fraction of them show up on election day, how do you catch the front runner? So, by and large, the exercise went on smoothly, if not for what happened in Adamawa State. And thankfully, INEC responded appropriately. The matter has been put to bed, and the winner has emerged, and the winner has received the certificate of return. So, that matter
has been laid to rest.
Is water under the bridge.
Dari, seeing that we know that supplementary elections, from what Babajide is saying, people do not really have this keen interest. We see the outcome, the voter turnout might not be quite impressive. What do you think INEC needs to do to improve its overall electoral process so that it doesn't need to go into supplementary elections?
Yeah, well, the commission, like it said, immediately after the general elections, made it clear that they have learned some lessons, and that mistakes were made and the lessons were learned. So one believe that drawing from these lessons and their mistakes, they would what they've been doing to elections. But having said that, I believe that no matter how perfect or near perfect INEC turns out, you cannot rule out supplementary elections. You must understand that it is not only the failure of INEC's gadgets or men that usually cause supplementary elections. Where you have violence, there will be supplementary election. And that's not something INEC can help. INEC cannot provide or assure security. So you understand that when you have such a situation, it is beyond INEC. And that's something most people don't actually understand. In running to condemn the electoral body, we sometimes heap on it faults that are not its own.
It is, right.
Where people decide to force INEC officials to declare results that are fake, there will be supplementary elections. So in such situation, INEC, no matter how much they... For example, that's why you can hear somebody was in the thick of things like Dogua, Honorable Dogua in Kano, saying his victory now at the supplementary is exceptional. I agree with him. Because in Kano, the victory of the likes of Senator Barao, Jibrin, and Honorable Dogua is quite exceptional. Where NNPP, I would say, ran riots, surprised everybody, and Rabi Musa Kwakwazo showed that he is the man in charge of Kano. 2023 election is one election Nigerians should not wish away. Sincerely, in spite of the hiccups, in spite of whatever shortcomings, this is an election that showed us all that the people can actually determine who leads them. Kano is an example. The ruling party, APC, the governor, a political technocrat in his own right, surrounded by people who can claim to have been around in politics for a long time, who can claim to know Kano very well, who can lay claims to things they have done for the people. But the political structure of the Kwakwasiya movement is enduring, and it proved that during the election. So you would understand that there is no perfect election. But where we have an election that showed us the possibility of a future where the votes will count more and more. Rather than actually throw away the baby with the bathwater because there are some shortcomings here, difficulties here. We should embrace what we have, study it critically, look at the new things we did that gave us those shining moments, those bright lights that we can now call upon and say, because somebody was analyzing this election and said, aside from the June 12, 1993 election, is yet to see another election where Nigerians went to the poll, hopefully, determined and ready to use their vote to make a change. You saw what happened, upsets here and there. And that is why by the time we were going into the supplementary elections, it was easy to predict. Like BKO said, there were no surprises. People expected some tables to turn during the supplementary election. We are listening to him making some analysis before saying, look, nothing will change here. This will remain this way. Because the general election already showed us where the people are standing.
Right.
And the few who came out vote. You saw in some places where a party wins the supplementary election but still lost the general count because the margin already secured. In spite of the fact that there are enough voters, registered voters who can obtain it, majority of them will not come. As far as many of them are concerned, they are done and dusted with the election. So it is kudos to INEC and congratulations to the Nigerian people. Well. Because we have shown that we can actually change things with our votes.
All right, let's quickly move on to our next issue of discussion, where the post-election crisis is sweeping through major political parties after the conclusion of the 2023 polls. Now, the All Progressives Congress in Kashere ward of Amo local government area in Gombe state has expelled the former governor of the state, Danjuma Goje, from the party over alleged anti-party activities. Now, the party took the action despite a court order restraining the APC from investigating and taking any disciplinary action against Goje. The ward chairman, Tanimu Abdullahi, told newsmen that some of the reasons for the expulsion include failure to attend the presidential campaign rallies in the state, boycotting campaign activities, and supporting the opposition parties. Well, the Federal High Court in Abuja had on Friday ruled that the party couldn't investigate the former two-term governor without giving him the chance to defend himself. But today, when this news broke out, were you quite surprised? Now, first off, let me even ask, what does the rule, what does the law say about how one can want in here, this is what is expected of you, and this is what we'll do? Do you have any idea of, such things?
The law varies from party to
right.
Party. Naturally, because you register as a member at ward level, the ward has the power to suspend you. But if you are a high-ranking member of the party, like NWC member, for example, the ward needs to get the national leadership involved. You cannot chase away a national officer of the party. You cannot suspend him or expel him without the buy-in of the national leadership, the NWC. But in this case, it's not the leader of the party in the state, neither is he him that the ward, the Kashiri ward that it comes from, it will seem that they had the power to suspend him, but at the same time, you must give him fair hearing. If you fail to give him fair hearing, the courts may step in and say no, that you breached the established protocol in punishing a party member. So you can see that even Labour Party, when they claimed that they had suspended their chairman, the argument was that, look, only the neck of the party can take that decision. In the PDP, the National Working Committee and the neck has to take that decision, not some people at ward level. So you can see that the suspension of the national chairman of PDP is being resisted. We've gone to court because it is felt that the national body was not involved. So it varies, the law varies from party to party, but because you register at ward level, the ward can suspend. So in this case, the only thing that I see that is wrong is the fact that the court said don't do anything to him at this stage, and they've gone ahead in spite of the court order, the court directive. You can see that even Wike knows that they are going to deal with him. He ran to the courts to get some immunity through the courts, and others too. In fact, the governor-elect of Rivers State has also secured a court order banning the party from punishing him, because it's on Wike's side. They may look in that direction and say, okay, let's punish this person, even before he officially takes over power. So they've gone to court to preempt their party. Wike has done that, but Goje did it, but in spite of that, they went ahead to expel him. It's been a running battle. In fact, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu intervened in this matter, trying to get both of them to work together before the election. I remember on a particular day, the former governor wanted to come into town because his, I think, granddaughter was wedding. And thugs prevented him from entering Gombe. It was suspected that the governor was behind this. And the shame of this whole thing is, for 2 terms, Governor Yaya was finance commissioner under Danjuma Goje. So I don't know how many times Danjuma Goje will bring people as governors and they will turn against him just after they got into office. It happened with Dan Kwambo, the former governor of the states. Dan Kwambo, according to Goje, was always coming to his house. But the moment he was inaugurated as governor, he didn't go to that house until Goje's wife died. So on the day that Goje's wife died, that he now showed up to pay condolence, the man was raining insults on him. That this is the woman who used to cook, take good care of you, you come here, but after he became governor, you stopped entering this house. So the ordinary politician always wants to be his own man. Once he has tasted power, you know, I think it was Ashwaju told someone some time ago that if you want to know what power is and how power intoxicates, give even your own son power, and you see the way your son will use it, and use it against you. We've seen a son who removed his dad as a leader of his country in one of the Middle East countries. I won't mention the name. He chased his father away and installed himself as leader. So these things happen. Once you tasted power and somebody, you don't want the person who gave you that power to continue to give you instructions. Even Bukola Saraki in Kwara revolted against his dad after his dad installed him as governor. So this is power. And the APC constitution expressly states that in the states, the sitting governor shall be the leader of the party. Where there is no sitting governor from the party, like in Benue, for example, the former governor or anybody who has held the highest ranking position in the state will be the leader of the party. So you have the minister of special duties, a former governor of the state, Akume, is the leader of the APC in Benue because there is no sitting governor there. But you saw what happened between the governor of Kano and former governor Shekarau. You know, the battle for supremacy. And the national chairman of the party said, see, the law is clear. Our law is clear. The leader of the party is the incumbent governor, even if you were a governor before. So this is already resolved in favor of the... Right. So I like what is going on in Benue. I mean in Borno, as I close on this matter. When Shetima sees Zulum, he calls Zulum my leader. And people will be like, well, this was your commissioner now, you made him governor. He calls him my leader. He doesn't want a fight.
Right.
So there will be mutual respect between them. Once you know your own space, you are aware of your boundary, and I'm aware of mine. We will live happily. But now, see what is happening. It's embarrassing.
Dari, your take on this matter?
Yeah, well, Vike explains it all. Let me take off from the Borno you mentioned. I don't speak or understand Hausa, but a friend of mine who is in government in Borno told me that the two you mentioned, sir, Shetima and Zulu, that the Hausa word Shetima uses to address the governor means my leader, while the one the governor used to address him means my boss. While one is calling, while he's calling the governor my leader, knowing fully well that that's what the constitution says, and ready to avoid any face-off. The governor is giving him his deserved respect, like calling him my boss. At least he served under him for some. So there is balance of respect, and then we are not hearing much from Borno as regards face-offs between. But this is not the first time he's being suspended from the party. In the build-up to the 2023 general elections, he was suspended from the party, and in fact, the State Executive Council affirmed his suspension. And it was so bad that he actually picked the ticket of the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, to run for Senate. By the time APC were having their own primary and the national leadership of the party intervened, even the president-elect, then the presidential candidate of the party intervened, and the governor was prevailed upon that, look, return his ticket to him. He became he was announced the candidate of both APC and PDP at the same time. It took the intervention of even the court order to ensure that he still ran on the platform of the APC, because some people went to court and said he cannot be the candidate of APC because just yesterday PDP announced him as their candidate. So he had to issue newspaper rejoinders and others say no, did not participate in their primary. But he was announced to have defeated some people. So that is because he was also preempting the governor. Right. He knew what the governor wanted to do was stop him from, and then part of that crisis led to the resignation of his daughter, who was a commissioner in the governor's cabinet. She resigned as part of the crisis. Some members of the House of Assembly also decamped to the PDP to go and wait for him there, thinking he was going to make that move.
Right, so in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, it has been a running battle in Gombe. Right. But the national leadership intervened. He came back. Everybody thought all was well. But there were allegations, and there are still allegations, that he actually, during the presidential election and the state government election, worked for the opposition PDP. If the party in the APC in Gombe is able to prove this, then maybe that explains why they are hell-bent on suspending him. But for a word, I think the court will determine that. But the constitution of the party actually says the word can suspend. Okay. But when we talk about expulsion, I think that's an issue for the court to decide.
Indeed. So let's quickly go on a very quick break. You're still on to Journalist Hangout. When we come back, we'll be speaking with Salihu Lukman, the All Progressives Congress Vice Chairman for Northwest Region. Stay with us here in just a moment.
I'm one of the Empower beneficiaries. The name of school I'm here is Government School, Abia Ponkap, Aburukaladu Government, Akwa Ibom State. I'm a young graduate since 2015. I was after the service. Since that 2015, I went to service 15, finished by 2016. I was looking for a job. I would meet some different firms, but they cannot accept me. So I was now looking for other small business to do. I just heard the information on net that the president is doing this to have 1 million youth to empower. It was online registration. After that, you update everything through net. At the end of it now, they shortlisted me. So I went for physical verification. After that, they are now giving me the posting. They post me to my primary assignment, ETC.
Are you ready to win big? It's Max Millions.
Give me the money, pay off bills.
We're giving away 1 million naira to our lucky listeners. To win a share of the 1 million naira, tune in to 102.3 Max FM Lagos and 90.9 Max FM Abuja from 6 a.m. Listen out for the winning song, be the 10th caller, beat the clock, and you could win big with Max Millions.
Money.
Stop! He said stop! 25,000 naira! Come on!
Max Millions, only on Max FM.
Now, it is commonly said that a house divided against itself will not stand. Now, this saying encourages unity among institutions at all levels. In the Nigerian political arena, internal crises and conflicts are threats to party unity. And some of these developments have caused some parties to lose to opposition. The ruling All Progressives Congress isn't immune from this. Now, joining us now to discuss this and more is the Vice Chairman of the APC for the Northwest, Salihu Lukman, good to have you on the program this evening, sir. So let's start off with this now. Your party seems to be more on a crisis, costing its elections it should have won. Why is this such a problem in the APC?
Well, first let me clarify. I'm not sure it's a crisis. I think it's part of the process of sorting out ourselves. And if you recall, this is not the first time. I mean, we've been going through a number of this contestation. I call it contestation, not crisis. It's partly responsible for the change of leadership in the party at least twice. Now, the basic issue, and I think this is the point which Nigerians must try to focus on. We need to focus on building the party. And building the party is about ensuring that leadership of the party run affairs of the party based on provisions of the constitution of the party. Unfortunately for us, and it's not just a case with APC, I think across all the parties, and perhaps largely because PDP has exported some of these into most of our parties, we are facing these challenges. And I think until we summon the courage to begin to engage our leaders, to one meeting and resolve. But somehow, we find ourselves in a situation where leaders prefer to run parties based on their personal discretion without calling meetings. And I think that is the issue. If you read our constitution, we have about 4 or 5 organs if you add the National Convention. The next organ, we have the National Advisory Council. It used to be Board of Trustees, but the name was changed to National Advisory. We have the National Caucus and the National Executive Committee. All these are organs, and if you read, they have both tenure and schedule of meetings. Since we came into office in March, on March 28th, we had only one NEC meeting, and it was an emergency meeting. But if you read our constitution, there are issues which are mandated as statutory, which the NEC need to decide on. For instance, the NEC is supposed to approve a national budget for the party. The NEC is supposed to receive quarterly reports of activities. The NEC is supposed to receive quarterly financial report on income and expenditure, and a number of those issues. Now, we had only one NEC meeting in April last year, and the NEC in its wisdom say, okay, the NWC can exercise the power of NEC, but only for 90 days. So if you compute from April, by August, we exhausted the 90 days. So a number of decisions which NEC is supposed to pronounce on shouldn't have been taken without calling a NEC meeting. But here we are still debating. But coming down to the reality confronting us today, which borders on some of the issues I hear you talk in the earlier part of the program, around the whole question of discipline. A number of our leaders, it's a public knowledge, it's being speculated in the media, have done anti-party. They have worked against our candidate either at presidential level or at gubernatorial level or at other levels, And very high level people are being alleged to have been part of this. So ideally, and this falls within the power of NEC, ideally, you are expected to, after election, to review at least the election and some of these incidences, especially if you are interested in ensuring that the mistake that has happened in the last election are corrected. You set up a panel to investigate all these things and come up with recommendations based on which they can be acted upon. The second issue, which has to do with the fact that by June, the National Assembly will be inaugurated. And the first issue that is going to come up will be the question of the leadership of the National Assembly. If you read our rule direct the National Working Committee to prepare guidelines and regulations for the conduct of election at all levels. So ideally, by now we should be busy negotiating some of those guidelines, and NEC should be convened to approve the guideline, which will guide the process of emergence of the new leadership of the National Assembly. If you recall, our inability to manage the process in 2015 created the situation where rebellion happened and the Saraki leadership emerged. Now, that was correct. To be fair to the leadership of Comrade Adam, they corrected that. That leadership tried to work session as a National Working Committee to look at all of these things. Yet, all we hear is speculation that there are some leaders who are lobbying that no meeting should be convened to even attempt to zone or consider nomination by the party into the leadership of the National Assembly. And we are just sitting. And I think, for me, the challenge is about enforcing our rules. It's not about sitting down until things go bad. Then you start saying, okay, this is not my party. This party is one of the well-negotiated political undertaking that has happened. And I keep saying, we are the first successful merger product in the political history of this country. And we are the first to overthrow a ruling party. We came in with so much goodwill. And we are just taking all that for granted. And as it is, if we continue at this rate, we're just undoing ourselves. We'll continue on a level whereby we will be running the affairs of the party without reference to our constitution. We'll spend the next 1 year, possibly, no organ will be convened. The National Advisory Council, for instance, if you say that is the president.
All right, let me hold your thoughts on this. Let me quickly hold your thoughts on this. I need to quickly ask you this question. You know, you talked about a lot of things of what strengthens the party and how the party has been able to, maintain its relevance since 2015. But there is an issue right now. We understand the former governor of Gombe State has been expelled. Could you tell us what exactly is going on here in the APC?
Well, I cannot say for sure exactly what is going on, but if we follow our rule, and I think, again, during the time of Comrade Adams, some of these things apply. The lower organs who took the decision are obligated to forward.
All right, it seems we're having a little bit of a connectivity issues with the APC Vice Chairman, Salihu Lukman. But, before we get back to him back online, but BKO, we just heard him, talk about what makes the party strong, even though the internal crisis has been on for some time due to some certain issues. Were you expecting this in any way? Do you think this is part of what forms a political party? Okay, I understand he's back online. So we were having your thoughts on what exactly is going on since we understand that the former governor of Gombe State has been expelled. You are giving us your insights on this.
Yeah, I'm saying ideally, and I think it's during the tenure of Comrade Adams Oshimole as national chairman, they tried to follow some of those constitutional provisions. A report is supposed to come to the National Working Committee. The National Working Committee is supposed to set up its own investigation panel, and the investigation panel, I think the report should go to the National Executive Committee, the National Executive Committee that will take the final decision. Now, somehow, and this is the point, we have to work to strengthen our democracy by ensuring that the constitution of our party are really tested and they are allowed to function. Unless we do that, we will continue to just allow opinions to drive this process. Now, for me today we're talking of Goje, and I can tell you, There are many people that have been alleged to have done anti-party activity. The only thing about the case of Goje may be because of the issue between him and the sitting governor. But there are people, as we are talking, there are speculation that one of our governors also worked against us at the presidential level, at the presidential election. Now, we need to, as a party, and this is my point, I have read that, is one of the issues I'm demanding. As NWC, we should recommend to NEC that a high-powered investigation panel should be set up, and everybody who is being alleged to have worked against the interests of our party.
Okay, since we're still having some audio challenge there, but Babajide, let's have your thoughts on what he said so far, on what the party is dealing with.
Basically, he is convinced that a lot more members of the party worked against the party, especially during the presidential election. I know that some governors worked against the party and then supported Atiku. You know, even the Atiku campaign boasted that they had some governors of APC on their side. There were people who lost the primaries, the presidential primaries. They felt so bad about their loss and continued to work against the party. You know?
I understand we have him back online. Perhaps, Babajide, you can take the next question now if he is back online. Saliu.
So, Malam Saliu, the conflict between incumbent governors and former governors appears to be a recurrent one in the APC. Why is this so difficult for incumbent governors and former governors to cohabit within the same space?
Well, to be fair, Babajide, I will argue that it's not an APC issue, and I think it's part of the challenge of managing processes. I mean, like I said in the write-up I released in the open letter yesterday, PDP mismanaged its transition, you know, at federal level from Obasanjo to Yar'Adua, later to Jonathan. And that was partly what produced a frustrated Obasanjo. And when you don't have a party that can regulate the conduct of elected officials, the risks of having people who will transfer their own personal animosity to become the
Okay, we're still having some network challenge, you know, with the APC Vice Chairman Northwest, Saliu Lukman. I pretty hope that we get this right. So, but Babajide, quite an extensive, or can we come to you, Dari, even though we've heard from him what exactly the party is dealing with. What are your thoughts generally on how the APC, or what the APC can do to, you know, galvanize its members to maintain its relevance, not just for this period, but perhaps in the next 2027 elections?
The last general election presents an opportunity for the party to actually review its activities since its formation till date. The party came into power in 2015, a marriage of convenience by different political parties from different ideological backgrounds. The party managed to run a government for almost 8 years now, still unable to harmonize the differences among its members and shiftings. So I think the last election, which was keen, the contest was keen, the division was sharp, and the disagreements and grievances were so loud. So it presents an opportunity for the party to actually know who is standing where and how, I begin to work on how to bring the various interests together. In politics, one thing is sacrosanct and very, very important, and that is interest. Everybody is in the game because they have one interest or the other to protect. So until you ensure that their interests are taken care of, manageably, and whatever it's on the table goes round, and the inclusiveness that they all seek is given. It will be difficult to have party members who will be totally loyal. But once you take care of those things, I think the party would improve tremendously in its structure.
I understand we have the APC Vice Chairman back, Saliu Lukman. Please, apologies, we've been having a bit of a challenge with the network. But, you know, we are responding to a question by my colleague Babajide on what the incumbent governors rather find it difficult to live with the former governors in the party.
Of the individuals concerned, because when you vacate an office and you are still interested in conducting yourself as if you are the sitting governor, it will create problem. And I think this is one area which I believe Aswaju handled very well. After he left office, I can't recall any kind of animosity between, at least not to the knowledge of the public, between him and former Governor Babatunde Fashola. So there are cases where it has worked. I think earlier in the program you mentioned the case of Senator Kashim Shettima and Professor Zulu. It has worked. But there are many cases, and this is the point, and I think it reflects on also the weakness of the party as an institution. Because for me, it is the responsibility of the party to also step in, and where, for instance, there are excesses by current serving governors, which is becoming overbearing on the former, to protect the former governors. Because we must have the courage to be able to tell even the sitting governors that one day they are going to become former governors. You know, and how you handle current governors will determine how you are going to be handled if you don't take time. So I think development of the party and strengthening it as an institution is the first prerequisite for us to be able to manage a number of some of these issues. And because the development of the party is being taken for granted, and almost everything about our democracy is reduced to contesting election and winning election, you find out that the party becomes the sacrificial lamb, you know, and most of the function expected by the party is not being handled by anybody. You know? So I will argue that if we are really, really interested in developing this democracy, we must invest time, resources, and whatever we have in building the party as an institution. And one of the first things in doing that,
I was going to ask you whether you do not think that the personalization of leadership is a threat to the party. Because we see people who appear to be stronger than the party.
It is partly it is, but I don't want to overemphasize on that. My take is that sometimes we also encourage people to personalize leadership. You know, when you see a leader clearly doing the wrong thing, instead of you to summon the courage to be able to advise or find a way to convince the leader to come back to do the right thing, we tend to be very, very protective and defensive. We want to be safe. We don't want to fall on the wrong side of the leader because we don't want him to throw us out. You know, once that is the mindset, we'll not be able to help our leaders. And that is where I stand. I keep making the point. Yes, I raise all these issues. I contest issues. I disagree with the national chairman, but I'm not against him. I give him his due respect, and it is my hope. I'm still part of his team. Why I'm raising this issue is that wherever he erred, I'm also guilty of it. I am hoping that we can be able to find common ground together, to work together in such a way that we come back and run the affairs of the party based on the provisions of the Constitution. This is my
comrade, why is it so difficult? Because I know you've been talking about the need for accountability, the need for regular meetings, the need for the party to take the big decisions as one indivisible entity. Why is it so difficult for your party to call meetings when necessary? Why does it appear that you are talking to a wall when you are talking about this accountability, the need for accountability and all that?
Honestly, Babajide, that is one area that I'm also searching for the answer. Because if you recall, in 2020 and 2013, immediately after the registration of the party, or even before the registration of the party, one of the things that was happening, our party leadership were meeting almost every week. Every week we were meeting. And where there is the need to convene an organ meeting like a NEC, they will so decide and agree on the date and a meeting will be called. Now, what I don't understand, immediately after winning the 2023 election, whether it is the euphoria of trying to lobby for position in government, we just start on doing ourselves. And this is my point. Part of the problem, is that we devalue the party. There are many of us who will prefer to go into government than to remain in the party. I believe, as far as I'm concerned, the party is the most superior institution in this democracy. It may not have money that people are looking for. That may be responsible for it now. But if we do the right thing, you talk of accountability. Part of the problem of lack of accountability is also that it weakens the commitment of people to make financial contribution to the party. Because when they give money to the party doesn't come and say, this is how I use the money. But if in the first place, as part of accountability, like our constitution has stipulated, you present a budget, and based on that budget, you say, okay, this is how the money should be raised. And the money is raised, and every quarter you give financial report to say, this is how far you have gone. These are the gap. We need more money, then people will be encouraged. But the way we are, once we mobilize that money from sale of form, I think that is enough. I'm sure now, I don't know what is in the account, but I would be surprised if we have 1/4 of what we collected still remaining in the account. I'll be surprised.
Well, sir, you raised concerns about anti-party activities, but it's been established that some chieftains of your party in Yobe, Zamfara, Kebbi, and even Rivers have been accused of anti-party activities, and they are still throwing their weight around within the party. What do you think should be done to people like this?
You see, this is why I'm raising all these issues. That it is raised in the public does not mean it is established within the structures of the party. I think the first NEC meeting, we must set up a high-powered committee to investigate and come up with a report and recommendation, including citing provision of the Constitution in terms of the sanction that should be applicable to those who are guilty. And once NEC look at it and approve it, then the sanction should be applied. But unless we run affairs of the party based on the provision of our Constitution, we will not be able to handle this. And I could see some attempt to manipulate us into allowing a number of these things to escape, which for me will mean that we have just signed our death warrant. Because once we allow this to happen, we should put it down. Subsequent election, we are going to perform very badly. Look, I keep saying, all the votes that, for instance, most of the vote, I won't say all, most of the vote PDP and Labour Party and even NNPP got are protest vote against us, largely because we have mismanaged ourselves. Now, we need to, as a party, do the necessary thing to sit down and do self-reflection and agree that, okay, we've done ABCD right, but we've done XYZ wrong. We need to correct ourselves. We are in a transition. You know, a new government is coming in. If a new government is allowed to inherit a number of some of these shortcomings.
Comrade, let me observe you on that. You just spoke about transition. And it's on that I want to ask that. Under the Tinubu presidency, how do you see the future of the party?
All right, he seems to be having a bit of network issues there. But if we can get him finally to just give his final thoughts on that, we would appreciate that. But, well, let's leave it at that. But let me have your final thoughts on this, Babajide, before we wrap up the show.
Yes, I think...
Okay, apologies. I understand he's back right now. So let's have your final thoughts on the question asked with regards to the presidency of Tinubu. How will
the Tinubu presidency and the
future for APC?
What I see, I mean, I am very confident, and I believe that the Tinubu presidency will remarkably move Nigeria forward, will build on all the successes of the President Buhari. Where, for instance, we clearly have not managed ourselves very well, I am very hopeful and very confident that we'll be able to correct all of those things as a party. And I believe Tinubu as a person and as a leader is committed to ensuring that we move this country forward.
All right, and that's a fine place to leave it. APC Vice Chairman, Northwest Region, Salihu Lukman, we appreciate your insights on the program this evening. And that's it on the program, Journalist Hangout. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of the show. You can watch a repeat broadcast of it tonight at 11. You can also join us again on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. We are also on youtube.com at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Many thanks for watching. I'm Esther Makwariola. I also want to thank my guests in the studio, Dario Dufowoko and Babajide Kolade Otitoju. It's a pleasure to always have your thoughts on the program. That's it for now, guys. Have a great evening. Bye for now.
It's a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Do you struggle with having an active and healthy lifestyle due to your busy schedule? Do you find it difficult to make it to the gym? You want to improve your overall health, but don't know where and how to start? Medical experts agree that walking, running, and jogging are amongst the best ways to stay fit and enjoy a great active and healthy lifestyle. What if there was a convenient and affordable way to improve your health, improve your mood, and lose weight right in your own home? Introducing the SportX Digital Compact Treadmill, the compact foldable treadmill that makes being active and losing weight fast and easy. Just unfold it and walk, jog, or run while you watch your favorite programs on TV. And when you're done, just fold it and store it away. Now that's convenience. The secret is its advanced design that